previously made a non-spoiler video about my early impressions of episode Duscae, so check that out if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this demo. I'll leave a link in the description. This contains spoilers. If you've not played the game, then listen to this later. Episode Duscae is an effective demo because it establishes the group dynamic by displaying what the main characters are like, and it gives us a solid preview of gameplay, with an open area to explore, the combat system to experiment with, the suspenseful hunts and dungeon exploration, and an awesome summon. We also get teases of chocobo riding, equipment, and driving the car to look forward to in the final game. It's fun to imagine a full game full of these things since they're so enjoyable here. The demo ends with a dramatic and somber scene that gets me curious about the plot for the final game. The tone of that scene is quite different from all the camaraderie in the demo. It could seem a little jarring, particularly after that scene with Cindy, but we see that there are serious things going on and the characters have high stakes, which could explain why they act the way they do. The party members each appear to represent an archetypal role in a party, like the muscle or the goof-off or the smart one and the moody one, but they're not stereotypical versions of those roles because they don't emphasize the fact that they have these qualities, and the writers focus on how a person with these formulaic appearances and tendencies would react and express themselves to each other about what they have to do or what's going on in a logical and natural way. For example, Noctis appears to be a brooding guy, but as you play through the demo you see that he's more stoic and that he's friendly with and cares about his friends. Most people compare brooding Final Fantasy characters to Cloud. He's brooding because he's angsty, insecure, uneasy, and we don't know why he is that way at the beginning of the game. I'd say stoic better describes Noctis. The trailers and the ending scene illustrate the reason for this, because it would make sense that having your kingdom invaded would make you stoic. He probably feels responsible to make sure his kingdom and its citizens aren't messed up by the Empire, and is focusing on reclaiming his kingdom. Also, in the news report in the ending video, it said that his father died, which could be another reason for why he's brooding. Now for the controversial topic of Cindy. Personally, I don't really like her, just based on the way she dresses. It's steering a lot towards the fantasy side of the fantasy based on reality, than the reality side. Nomura said he wanted to create characters to seem like believable people that you could meet, and her appearance is so unpractical and over-sexualized that it's unbelievable, and it doesn't seem like the kind of character that Nomura said he was intending to make. Another thing about her that bothers me is her appearance doesn't correlate with the other people in the world. I think she's well written, so please at least zip her up a little more because it looks like pandering to the fanboys and it's disrespectful. One of my favorite things in the demo is Ramuh, but how do Noctis' friends go unharmed after the Judgment Bolt? Ramuh only picks up Noctis, and in the animation, his friends don't appear. Did they warp away somehow? Do summons attacks avoid allies? This could be explained in a line of dialogue, but this is a nitpick. The awesomeness of the summon is worth it. I'm pretty certain that using summons will be different in the final game, because with the system in place you only have the option of using one summon. But they could just create a slot in the menu where you can choose the summon to use when you're in emergency health. I think in previous Final Fantasy games, at least what I've played, you can only use each summon once. So in the final version, they could create an order for your summons so that you're not limited to one per battle. So, for example, the first time you hit emergency health, you can hold down the button and use the summon that's first in your order. And the second time you hit emergency health, you can hit the button and use the summon that's the second in the order. And the amount of summons available for use in a particular battle will probably be limited, and you'll have to make decisions about which summons to bring into battle, because being able to use all your collected summons in battle would be overpowered. Particularly if they change it so you use MP to summon, because your MP regenerates, so you could spam all your summons by taking cover in between casts. The open world's enemies interact well with each other in the environment, but I hope they add other NPCs roaming around, like people hiking or traveling or adventuring or trying to rob you. Having NPCs in the open world can be another way to give us information and lore or side quests, sort of like how in Skyrim, while wandering around the world, You can run into traveling bards, or friendly adventurers, or thieves. Another thing that bothers me is the lock-on system. It would be better if I could cycle through targetable enemies, and cycle with the hard lock-on. A soft lock-on, like the yellow circle in Kingdom Hearts, would be another good addition, so that the attacks seem more precise. I don't like that I can't dodge warp through enemies or fences or other small objects. It shouldn't be overpowered because you can dodge right past guys and get behind them. And if you're not able to warp a far enough distance to get to the other side of an object, then the animation should occur, but you should just reappear in front of that object. Like if you dodge roll into a wall, so that you don't end up warping into the middle of a large object or being transported all the way to the other side of a large object. Basically, if the distance of your warp would get you to the other side, then you should be able to warp through it. Maybe the MP should drain a little slower because the disruptions when you run out of MP are annoying, but once I learned to limit warp strikes and set the blood sword to ravage, I was more successful at MP management. In the final version, there will probably be more equipment to help you speed up MP regeneration or reduce the costs of abilities, so I'm happy with the cost of abilities and the regeneration speed as it is. I'm wondering what the triggers will do in the main game. Hopefully weapon cycling, because it would feel so good to be able to cycle through weapons with the trigger buttons. The up and down buttons on the directional pad don't do anything here, so I wonder if they will have a use in the main game. Maybe target cycling, or maybe those will be the buttons for cycling weapons. I haven't made up my mind if dodge canceling would improve the combat, because with what they have here, you need to be considerate about when you attack and what attack or ability you should use considering where the enemies are around you. And that's fun, but there is a learning curve, at least for me there was. But the emergency health helped me out though. By adding dodge canceling, it would create a more fluid combat, and it would make the combat more easily accessible for casual players. Fighting mobs would be easier, and the combat would also look more cinematic because it would be easier to look cool dodging attacks. And I know Final Fantasy likes to try and be cinematic. Or they could add, limited dodge canceling. What I mean by that is like if you're halfway or less than halfway through an attack animation, you still can dodge cancel. So it's hard to say if dodge canceling would make the combat better or not, but at least what they have here is good. Also, I want to thank Square Enix. You guys are entertaining people. I'll get a lot of mileage out of this demo, and I think I'll be going back to it regularly. I give Final Fantasy XV Episode Duscae a 4.5 out of 5, so it's in between being a great and an amazing game as a verbal equivalent. Alright, there you have it. That's all I got, so thanks for listening.